Okay, so I'm going to start from a satellite image and use that as the basis for a site drawing that I'll create in AutoCAD, and then use that to bring into Revit a linked AutoCAD file with the site setup. So you could use Google Maps, but because 6 maps, if you're working in, I'm pretty sure it's only New South Wales, it'll give you more accurate maps than even Google Maps. More accurate satellite images, higher resolution. So just Google 6 maps, number 6, and that'll take you to the site, or it'll give you a link to the site. Accept the conditions, and here I'm just going to go to initial map extent statewide and close that dialog box. So if you know your way around this state image, you can easily zoom to what you need, but if you type in the address in the search field, 110 Edgware Road, Enmore, search, and it'll bring up a little dialog box where you can pick the address, and it should take you right to it. So there we are. So I'm going to zoom in even closer and just get an image with as much of the building inside the window as I can. And because it'll be a good thing to have the entire school shown in your site drawing, I'm going to try and capture the whole thing. So I've ended up with a view at scale 1 to 564. That number doesn't really matter. As long as I can see there that I've got it going along a 10-metre scale bar, that's absolutely fine. And then I'm going to use Control Print Screen to capture that image. And open up Photoshop, which I should have opened up before, but it's pretty quick, so let's wait for that. So if you don't know, when you use the print screen key, it places a copy of what's on the screen in the clipboard, and then you can paste it in to anything else. No, I don't think you need it. I mean, you can always get that and add it later on if you need to. Okay, so I'm just going to use the File menu in Photoshop and go to New. And then you'll see if you've captured it correctly, it should have clipboard as the preset, which means it's going to make a new file with the same pixel dimensions as your clipboard. So I'll click OK. And there we go. So I've got a blank file to begin with, but if I go to Edit and then Paste, it puts a copy of what I've captured. And then I'm going to crop the image in Photoshop just using the crop window there. I'll adjust that so it's a bit smaller. So I'm going to keep all the buildings, but not the stuff around the edges. And so that'll do. And most importantly, I'm going to make sure I keep that scale bar. That's essential. You need to keep that scale bar to be able to scale it properly in AutoCAD. In the bottom left corner, there should be a little scale. Yep. Okay, so you don't really have to crop it, but it doesn't hurt. But the main thing in Photoshop is that you save that image. So I'm going to use Save As, and then JPEG would be fine. And save it into my folder. So DCE, I'll call it DCE satellite. Or it's called Site Photo. And just the defaults here is fine. Okay, so I've captured that image, and then in AutoCAD, let's make a new file. And then on the Insert tab, you should be able to click Image. Now the button seems to have moved yet again. They love moving it. I don't really use the buttons for this much. I just type Image, so that's what I'll do. Yeah. So if you type Image, enter, it'll bring up the it's using external references, that's why it's a different button, but you can always click on the down arrow there and then attach image. Oh, you can cancel anything like that that comes up. Oh, just JPEG. It's fine, yep.
Insert and then insert?
Oh, just type image. You don't even need to do go to the Insert tab. You could just type image at the command line and then enter.
Where do you type
In AutoCAD? Yeah. No, just leave it on the defaults. Yep. Okay, so I'll give you a chance to do all this in a moment. Yeah, and so then click on the little down arrow and then you can choose attach image, the down arrow at the top. Yep. Okay, so once you've found your image and then selected it, click OK, and then you'll see the attach image dialog box where it's got an option for scale, which you need to turn off initially. And because I want this at the origin, I'm also going to turn off the option for insertion point. So I'm turning specify on screen off for both of those options. So there's nothing ticked there, in other words. And then OK. And I will double click then with the wheel to do a zoom extents, which will zoom right into the image. Z enter and then E enter, do the same thing. So I'll give you some time to do all this in a minute anyway. And then zooming into the scale bar, we can measure that. So the shortcut for measure in AutoCAD's DI, enter, and we're going to measure along this scale bar from the beginning of that ruler to the end. And it's told me that the length there is 0.0456. So it's tiny. I'm going to hit F2 on the keyboard to bring that text window up. You can also click on the arrow at the end of the command line there. And so then I'll basically show you the trick to scale that. We want it to be 10 metres, which in millimetres is 10,000. Okay, so I'll finish the video right after I do this and give you some time to do all of this. But the trick to using the scale tool, which you can just type in SC and then enter, is the shortcut for scale. And then clicking on the edge there can select the image. Type in the base point, 0,0, enter. And then as I was saying, the trick to using the scale tool is knowing how to type in a fraction without any decimal places. So you can type in any fraction in this scale tool as your scale factor. So if you wanted something to be 2 times its original size, you could type 2, or you could type 10 over 5, which is the same as 2. So any fraction works as a scale factor, and that's really useful when you're trying to scale things. Architectural drawings always need to be scaled by different ratios or fractions. And so here, the scale factor is 10,000 over 0.0456. So that's the amount we want this to be scaled. We want it to be a whole lot bigger than it is at the moment. So that is our scale factor. The problem with this scale tool is that it only accepts integers. In other words, it only accepts whole numbers. You can't type in decimals. So you've got to convert that decimal to a whole number by shifting the decimal place 4 places to the right. Okay, so we multiply the whole lot by 10,000 in other words. We're adding 4 zeros. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So we're shifting the decimal place across. And so that means it'll be 10,000 and then 4 more zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is a big number. That's fine. / and then that number, which we've now converted to a whole number, is 456. So 456. Enter. And that number, that length, that was, whatever it was, 0.0456, should now be exactly 10,000. And that's how you scale things accurately in AutoCAD. Just measure it, work out the size it is at the time, make sure you can convert that to a decimal, but essentially work out the size of that thing you're measuring, and then that number under, in other words, the number you want it to be, should be over that number that you've measured as a fraction. So in this case, 10,000 over 456 as a decimal.
Sorry, it's 10,000 is 10 metres on the whole.
That's right, 10,000.
Working in millimetres, so
Yep, times 10,000 because we had to convert it, and then over 456.
So whatever is on that, the scale picture that you...
Exactly. Yeah, that's right, and that's the point of those scale bars. So you can always scale it to exactly the size you want. And so now I'll again type DI for distance, enter, and measure this. So don't be afraid to experiment and then try it out afterwards. Try measuring what you've scaled and see if it's the right size. So I can see there from my measuring tool that it's basically 10,000. It's 10,009, but if I go to the left a bit, it's, there we go, that's 10,000.
Did you measure from, like, not the border around the...
Oh, yeah, God. Believe it or not, people have written theses on where you should measure from. I think you should measure from the centre of the line, and with computer graphics, that's the convention. With hand-drawn graphics, going right back, they used to measure from the edge of the line, which gets really confusing because then which side do you measure from? Depends on if it's the inside or the outside. And so generally with computer graphics and more with hand-drawn graphics, the centre of the line. That's where you should measure. But yeah, just be careful with that one. I've had things that have gone on for days working out where to measure from. So there we are, 10,000.42 is close enough.
Is that the scale, is it?
Yeah, that's the scale it was on screen when we were looking at the original image, but that really doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the main thing. So it should be 10,000 in the end, because this scale bar represents 10 metres. And so now I know, because that is 10 metres in my AutoCAD file, if I start drawing over these buildings in my image there, they're going to be basically the right size. So I can start drawing AutoCAD lines, and I'll do that next, and know that this building's the right size, and that'll be a really good basis for the site plan that you'll need to do. So I'll do that in a moment, but for now I'll just finish that video and give you some time to do all of that.